the Holy One of Israel, Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end. I give you thanks and praise for your goodness, your mercy, and your grace. I give thanks for a mind to pray, a heart to seek your face, and authority to bring my members into subjection. I thank you for this moment and the opportunity that each day brings. I know that each day is special, and I am empowered with unlimited potential. There are no ceilings on my life, obstacles that cannot be overcome, or barriers that can stand in my way. In fact, this is the greatest day of my life, and I am free to exercise all of the gifts and talents you have blessed me with. My hopes and dreams can manifest today, and I approach this moment with great expectation for miracles, breakthrough, and deliverance. I stand before you, Lord, naked, offering no excuses or justifications for my shortcomings and weaknesses. I come, Lord, seeking your standard and not those of men. I pray that you will forgive me my sins, known and unknown. Forgive every thought, deed, action, motive, or intent of my heart that is not lined up with your word, your will, or your calling and purpose for my life. Please forgive secret faults and uproot any seed of discontent that has been planted in my life. Forgive me, Lord, if I have held back the tide, and give me a heart to restore every person that I have wronged. Just as you forgive me, I forgive those that have wronged me, and I let go of any aught, bitterness, or ill will that I have held in my heart. I will not allow sin and bitterness to cut off the flow of blessings into my life. I repent right now in the name of Jesus, and I receive the power of the blood to cleanse me from all iniquity. I come before you, Lord, with a heart that is after your own, and a mind that is stayed on you. I thank you, Lord, for saving me from myself and the consequences of sin. I surrender, Lord, and give you total and complete reign over my life. I willingly submit to you in thanksgiving and praise. I thank you, Lord, for the relationship and fellowship that you have allowed me to share with you. I thank you for every moment, prayer, word, and opportunity to gain revelation and understanding concerning you. Forgive me for the times I have taken you for granted, or moments where I've allowed my focus and discipline to slip. I choose you, Lord, in all of your benefits, and denounce all ties and fellowship with the world. I have no place in the world, and denounce everything that it offers. You have given me a choice, Lord, and I choose to be in covenant with you. I have crossed the line of no return, and I will not look back. Each day I am getting more and more like you and growing further and further from this world. My reality in Christ is more real than what my natural eyes behold, and I know that you are not a million miles away. You are right here with me every step of the way. I will have confidence in you, Lord, concerning every situation I face, every decision I make, and every temptation in my path. Give me an ear, Lord, to hear your instruction, eyes that will not be deceived, and a heart that will remain faithful. My life has been built on the foundation that you are the Christ, the Son of the living God. You died on the cross for my sins, and your blood was shed for me. I exercise total faith and confidence in my belief that death was powerless to hold you in the grave, and that you rose again and resurrected every dead thing. I receive your resurrection power and declare that there is no dead thing in my life. I speak life in all things pertaining to me. Even now, Lord, I pray that you will breathe life into my relationships, my home, my dreams, my career, and my calling and purpose. Let there be no cracks in my foundation, and restore every bone that has been broken. I pray, Lord, that dead branches be pruned for me, and my harvest bear much fruit. I offer no resistance, and pray that all ungodly distractions be pruned from me, whether they are people, unhealthy relationships, environments, dead situations, ungodly influences, or anything that is not expedient for me. I distance myself right now from every dead thing and release them from my life in Jesus' name. I thank you, Lord, that I have inherited life through your sacrifice, forgiveness for my sins through your blood, revelation through your word, and I have been empowered by your spirit. I take precious time, Lord, to fully grasp and consider what my relationship with you means. Help me to never lose sight of the fact that I have an adversary that must be fought each day. My adversary is the world and Satan, who is the prince of this world. The world around me is not my home, and each day it becomes more a reflection of Satan, its prince.
Yes, Lord.
I am not ignorant to Satan's devices, and I understand that the world is designed for my destruction.
Thank you, Lord.
The allurement of pleasure and the temptations that cross my eyes are for the purpose of robbing me of everything I have inherited through Christ. Every trap, every lust, and the pride that is in the world are set against me on all sides. The hope that I have is in patiently walking according to your word and staying firm to the covenant I have made with you. The world cannot strip me of my authority, but I can hand it over. I will not be deceived by what I see, hear, or how I feel. If it is not of God, then it is for my destruction. Help me, Lord, to see the spirit behind the temptation. The word tells me that Satan came to steal, kill, and destroy.
We have a government, sir, that needs to be opened up before the American people. White folk rule us with fear. It is not white people, it's your fear of them that you got to be freed from.
I see.
It's all about money. Holding you there, sucking the government with funding, the state.
I'm going to stop it right there. Good morning, good morning, good morning. And good morning. Welcome to the Prince Carter Show. I'm your host, Prince Carter. I had to hop on this morning to get some things off my chest. A couple of things very quickly. First off, there was a board meeting on last Friday. I'm encouraging folks to go to YouTube and check that board meeting out from last Friday. Also, I've posted it on my social media as well. You can, in fact, listen to the board meeting from YouTube on my Facebook wall. I posted it. I want to talk about the St. Louis public school system and some things that are deeply concerning. Let me start off by, first and foremost, I want you all to listen to something, and I want you to give this your undivided attention if you don't mind. Please listen to this. Okay? Hear this very good, people. Listen good.
Thank you. I'd like to thank the board for presenting quite substantially in terms of the length of time on academics. And so thank you for that. But we still need more nitty-gritty, more data, more benchmarks, more progress. Because despite, I think, the perception that this board leadership in particular tries to portray, this district is failing. This is the third year in a row the APR has been below 70%. According to DESE, this district should be unaccredited.
Say what?
Sadly, DESE is as problematic when it comes to accountability as you are when you consider your former superintendent. And they're not holding you accountable, and the only ones suffering are the kids. I heard here, it's funny how you split data to talk about improvements, because according to the Post-Dispatch, ELA scores declined by 1.5%. Math scores declined by 0.5%. So whether you're looking at different subgroups or just improvement in terms of the percentages that met their goals, this district is getting worse academically. You want to market more kids to come to enroll in SLPS? Improve your academics. Kids can't read. I don't know if you saw the article about students at Vashon reading on the 4th grade level.
Say what?
Because not everyone can come to a Gateway STEM, because it's a magnet school. Not everyone can come to the #1 school, high school in Missouri. Not everyone go to Metro, because they're magnet schools. You have to apply, and most of our children don't qualify for those schools. So what are you doing for the rest of most of the kids in this district that are failing? 13% of black kids are reading on grade level. Yet, this school board does not present any comprehensive plan. You talk about a Saturday school that has 50 kids who attend. This district has thousands of children. What are you doing for the thousands of children instead of coming here and talking about the 50 kids you have in Saturday school and the improvements that they may be making, and trying to fool the public to make it seem as though you're doing something. You're doing something for 50 kids. I'm calling on the public to vote this board leadership out. The elections are this April. Coalition of STL Kids is putting forth candidates to replace this board. We'll have a press conference at the Board of Elections on Thursday at 11:20 a.m. Because We can't wait. We can no longer tolerate this level of failure. Our kids deserve better.
I'm going to stop it right there. That was Mr. Chester Asher, who attended the St. Louis Public School Board meeting on last evening. For those of you that aren't aware, these meetings are available on YouTube, and that's where I pulled this up from. But I want to stop right there and talk about some things that this brother made light of. For one, the children are steadily declining in academics as it relates to the St. Louis Public School educational structure. I think that's something that we all should have been and need to be concerned with. I'm just curious to know, how is it that you can pad these numbers to create the illusion that the children are not doing as bad as we think they are? I don't get it. Why pad numbers? Is our community really concerned with education? One of the things that irked me is that after this brother made that comment last night, they went into a closed session and kicked everybody out of the meeting. If you watched the board meeting from last night, up until this brother spoke, they were all cheery and woo 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 and ha 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 and everything that you can imagine. But when this brother slapped them in the face with reality, they decided to shut the meeting down and close the meeting. Our St. Louis public school system went from a $17 million surplus to a $35 million deficit in 1 year. And anybody don't think something's wrong with that, you got to be off their rocker. How do you go in 1 year alone from a $17 million surplus to a $35 million deficit in 1 year? And I hear people talk about, somebody's calling me on the wrong phone. I hear them talk about, excuse me for a second. Good morning.
Chris.
Yes.
What's up?
Mark, I'm on the air right now talking about the St. Louis Public Schools. You called me on the wrong phone. Are you available?
Yeah, call me. Call on this number.
Okay, all right. Mark Cason, he's wanting me to call him on his phone, and that's I guess that's the way we'll work it this morning. But back to the school board. Chester brought out some very interesting facts, and one of the things that I'm curious to know, and a matter of fact, I'm gonna see if I can get that find Bill, somebody that can contact that brother. We can get him on because he and Bill Monroe are very knowledgeable of what's going on down there. But how can you fire the superintendent, okay, and accuse her of mismanaging money, and you are the board? How was she able to mismanage the money under the board? The board is supposed to be the checks and the balance for the money at the St. Louis Public Schools. How can a single person be responsible for this type of behavior? It's mind-boggling. You can call in if you got insight, 314-732-1212. Anybody can call in and talk. I think I got Mark Cason on the phone this morning. Good morning, Mark.
Hey, Prince.
We're live on the air. Mark, I don't know if you were aware of the St. Louis Public Schools system went from a $17 million surplus to a $35 million deficit in 1 year. Were you aware of that?
Well, if I weren't aware of that, you should hang up this phone.
Do you have any idea how that happened?
I don't think that's the issue.
What do you think the issue is?
The issue is the entire manner in which that school system is run. And not just under Keisha Scarlett, and not just under some new temporary person. I'm talking about all the way back from Kelvin Adams to the present, because they don't care about kids and they don't care about black people, and it's absolutely a crime.
Mark, is it not the board's responsibility to be the checks and balances when it comes to the revenue for the school system?
I won't even discuss that.
But
And the reason I won't is because it doesn't start with that money. I understand somebody messed up the money, so go fix the money. That's the easy part. The difficult part is what's going on in those individual schools. And I can tell you right now, there was an article about a month ago in the Post-Dispatch about pepper spraying students at Vashon and all the horrible conditions there, which really has to do with the fact that they had 27 teachers who were not certified teachers. And when I say certified, I'm not just talking about certified. I'm talking about effective and certified teachers. They don't have them. They don't care because the kids are black. And frankly, and if you don't get this, Prince, you don't get nothing. They want to get rid of as many black teachers and students as they can. The whole effort is to make St. Louis Public Schools white again. And if you don't believe that, there's nothing else to talk about.
Mm-hmm. Mark, when you say the teachers aren't certified, could it be because they are struggling for manpower and have to take what they get?
No, absolutely not.
Mm-hmm.
You could fill those schools with top flight teachers. And by the way,
not with the current salaries that they're paying teachers. I don't think you can fill it with top flight.
Oh yeah, you could.
How would they do it, Mark?
Sorry.
How could they do it?
I'm sorry, you're wrong. There are teachers who care about kids.
Absolutely.
Who care about the profession. No, listen.
I know where you're going with this, Mark. I agree that there are teachers that care.
They care more about the profession than they do about a few $1,000s. That is a fact. I can tell you that. And there's a way to do it. And the way to do it is through respect and relationship building and a kind of progressive teaching that this district has never thought about.
I got a question for you, Mark Kaysen.
Oh, wait, before you ask the question, let me say this. I mean, I don't know who's listening here, but let me just tell you this. Travis Brown just died. Do you know that?
No! Are you serious? I thought he was getting better.
Well, he was getting better until he stopped.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Not only am I sorry to hear it, but I am fortunate to tell you that I spoke to him a week before he died. And honestly, I had no idea he was dying. And he didn't even at the time, because he was talking to me about when we could meet and how excited he was to get out of the house and how much better he felt. And I'll tell you, it was a tremendous uplifting telephone call. And I bring it up for two reasons. Number one, I loved Travis Brown. But the second reason is because Travis Brown loved teaching. And he knew what it took to make a great school even greater. He was a good person, a great public school teacher. And I'm telling you right now, it's people like him that can do this right. And there's only one solution to this problem, Prince.
What's that, Mark?
Elect Bill Monroe to the Board of Education.
Well, that's part of the solution. That's part of
it. It's a big part, because I'll tell you this. You need Bill Monroe in the room raising hell when these people basically tell students, we don't care about you. And that's what they've done since the day Kelvin Adams showed up.
Well, Mark, one of the things that I wanted to ask you, and because this is just, me looking on the outside looking in, you being in the school system, in your humble opinion, do you see enough parents engaged in displaying concern about the future of the children's education? Are there enough parents? Or would you say that there's too many not involved?
So first of all, there's nothing humble about my opinion. Secondly, parents are always ready and willing to jump in and help their kids and help their schools. It's the schools that block the parents, not the parents who ignore the schools. I mean, Prince, I hate to tell you this because I hate to be telling you this, although actually I love being 73. It doesn't bother me a bit, but I'm 73. I only hate to say it because I don't want to I'm sorry about that. I don't want to end what I do like Travis did.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the thing. I have called parents every day that I have taught for 24 years. So I've been around a while, Prince.
Mm-hmm.
Parents respond immediately. Everybody. I've never met a parent that didn't care about their kids. Never met one.
Well, why aren't we seeing them at these school board meetings expressing their concern and outrage on the failing school structure that the kids are forced to attend?
Because they're not Bill Monroe, and they've got jobs, or they want jobs, or they're busy, and they don't have time to mess with a bunch of bureaucrats and political hacks.
Mm-hmm.
What they need is a teacher to call them on the phone and say, I need you to help me work with with your child. And you know what? Instantly, they're ready.
Mm-hmm. Mark Kaysen, I want you to hear something, and I want you to hear it well. Are you familiar with Chester Asher?
With who?
Chester Asher.
Nah.
Okay. Chester Asher is a advocate for children, and he was at the school board meeting last night, and this is what he said to the board before they shut down the meeting. And they went into closed session after this. Listen.
Thank the board for presenting quite substantially in terms of the length of time on academics.
broke
and
up.
so thank you for that. But we still need more
couldn't
nitty-gritty,
hear a
more
word.
data, more benchmarks, more progress.
What did he say?
Okay,
Because
stand by,
despite,
stand by.
I think, the perception that this board leadership in particular tries to portray, this district is failing.
Okay, hold on, Mark.
This is the third year in a row the APR has been below 70%. According to DESE, this district should be unaccredited. Sadly, DESE is as problematic when it comes to accountability as you are when you consider your former superintendent. And they're not holding you accountable, and the only ones suffering are the kids.
Okay, Mark, you're not able to hear that on your end, I assume.
I can't hear a word.
Okay. He talked about how the school board is not being held accountable, and they're trying to create the illusion that everything is fine and dandy and getting better when in fact it's getting worse.
It's getting worse.
And the school board is sugarcoating things and attempting to put up this illusion that things are okay and there's nothing wrong, when in fact you went from a $17 million surplus to a $35 million deficit in 1 year, and the school board is not being held accountable. The board bears responsibility for overseeing of those funds for those children.
Yeah, well, let the accountants come in and solve that problem. I'm telling you, Prince, you're on the wrong subject.
What's the right
It's
subject,
a waste
Mark?
of time. It's a waste of time.
So you saying it's a waste of time to have
A
a school board that is sitting there and allowing mismanagement of funding? That's a waste of time?
A waste of time.
I respectfully disagree with you, and I tell you
I know
what.
what I'm talking about, and I'll tell you why.
I'm
Because
listening.
You can bring in some accountants and let them mess with this.
Mm-hmm.
That's all. And then whoever's responsible, take action. Wasting your time at a school board meeting about this stuff is stupidity.
In your
That
opinion,
school board-
that's your opinion, Mark.
No.
That's your
Forget
opinion.
My opinion is the only right one.
Why? Because
That school
what makes
system
you
is sinking.
what makes you so right about not holding folks
Because
accountable?
I'm smart.
And you
Because
think
I'm
that,
smart.
And you think that I'm not? Are
Yeah,
you
okay,
saying that I'm
listen,
not? Are you saying that I'm
Apparently
not?
not.
Well,
Apparently not when it comes to the schools.
Well, I tell you this, I'm smart enough to know that if you have people in place that are supposed to oversee the budget and they're not doing that, they need to be held accountable. I'm smart enough to know that.
Let me show you why you're wrong.
Show me.
Okay?
I'm listening.
You ready? You listening?
Come on with it.
Okay. The year before they screwed up the budget, how were the schools?
Terrible.
Okay. They were terrible before and they were terrible after. The budget's not the problem.
But Mark, you're not going to sit here and try to convince me that it's okay to allow them to screw up the budget and mishandle funds for the children.
I didn't say to allow it. I said to not waste another minute talking about it.
But if you got to talk about it, if you want to get something done about it, you got to.
You don't.
Yes.
Listen to me. You bring in the accountants and let them sort it out. The only thing you should be talking about is how you run a school. And these schools are run horribly. Listen to me.
But
Frank,
if you jack up the funding, Mark Kaysen, they're going to run even worse.
Prince,
If you jack up the
talking
funding,
about.
you're going to run even worse.
I know what I'm talking about. I want you to listen.
Can the schools operate without a budget?
Where do I teach, Prince?
Can the schools operate without a budget?
No, I want you to answer my question.
No. I
Where
asked
do
you
I
first. I know where you work, but I'll answer if after you tell
Where
me.
do I
Can
teach?
at Cardinal Ritter, I believe.
Okay, Cardinal Ritter. How much public funding do they get?
I have no idea.
0.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I want you to listen. The people who run that school are educational geniuses. First of all, they're all brilliant black people. So let's start there.
What is black
Secondly,
people, Mark? What is
no,
black?
I want you to listen.
No, I want you
I
to
want-
listen. You tell me what is black people.
I want you to listen.
There's no such thing as black
they-
people, Mark.
Okay, so listen to what they do. They go out into the community and they raise millions of dollars for young black scholars. And I'm telling you this, the public schools, if you gave me, of course I wanted Travis Brown there, he's gone. But if you'd have given me and Travis and Terry Houston Vashon High School, I don't care how bad they did with the budget. We'd have raised the money, and we'd have made that school a great school. They didn't want it because they had other ideas, which basically is to make these schools white. And if you don't believe that, you better go check out NGA, because that's all this is about. Destroying black schools and bringing in white people to transform neighborhoods, which, honestly, the worst people are working on this. I'm telling you right now, if you want to do anything to start this process, you have to elect Bill Monroe. That's the only way.
Mm-hmm. Well, I respectfully disagree with not holding school board members accountable for and using this woman as a scapegoat. I believe the way I'm sitting, from where I'm sitting and what I'm seeing, somebody is stealing some money and not and getting away with it. And they're getting away with it, Mark.
Maybe they are. Maybe they are.
And the children suffer.
No. The children suffered long before they stole any money.
Well, they're suffering even more after they steal the money,
No,
Mark.
they're not. No, they're not.
When they steal the money, they take away resources and tools that are needed to enhance and improve the quality of education for the children.
They don't give those resources to kids anyway. They don't care. What's the difference who steals it? What's the difference if they steal it legally or illegally? Really?
It's a big difference to me. It's a big difference.
Kids never get it. You're not listening, Prince. The kids never get it. Never. Never. And there's only one reason the kids don't get it. Because they're black.
You believe that?
Well, I'll tell you what. I can't drag Onion Horton out of the grave, but I assure you the words that are coming out of my mouth are Onion Horton's words. So
they're not getting it because they're black, and the so-called black folks are sitting idly by and accepting that. That's what you're telling me?
It's what Onion said all his life.
Wow. Well, with you being in the educational structure, I'm going to have to agree with some of the stuff you're saying, but I totally disagree about not holding the school board members accountable. If we not going to hold them accountable, we shouldn't have them. In my opinion,
I never said not to hold them accountable. I said to stop talking about it and bring in the accountants. Well,
the audit. Who did the audit? I think they did the audit, didn't they?
I mean, any hack can do an audit.
Right, and make it favorable to them if they so choose. But again,
well, of course.
When it's all said and done, Mark, at the end of the day, the St. Louis public educational structure is in grave danger. It is failing.
Elect Bill Monroe.
And I'm going to be the first to vote for Bill.
I can tell you.
I'm going. But Bill is only one person. Bill can't do it alone.
Oh, Bill will raise hell down there. I'll tell you that.
He's been banned for. They don't even allow him in the meetings.
That's why I said you got to elect him. It's the only solution. Listen, I got to go teach some kids.
All right, go teach some kids, Marsh. Thanks so much for calling. Continue to listen and continue to call. That was Mark Kaysen. What's your take on this? The number is 314-732-1212. I wish Bill was listening. I could get Bill Monroe to call in. I would love to talk to Bill this morning about last evening's school board meeting. I think, and this is just my opinion, it is a grave level of disrespect for them to go into closed session after someone speaks about something that they don't like. And what the man said, I'm going to finish it through its entirety. Listen to this.
I heard here, it's funny how you split data to talk about improvements, because according to the Post-Dispatch, ELA scores declined by 1.5%. Math scores declined by 0.5%. So whether you're looking at different subgroups or just improvement in terms of the percentages that met their goals, this district is getting worse academically. You want to market more kids to come to enroll in SLPS? Improve your academics. Kids can't read. I don't know if you saw the article about students at Rashawn reading on the 4th grade level. Because not everyone can come to a Gateway STEM, because it's a magnet school. Not everyone can come to the #1 school, high school in Missouri. Not everyone go to Metro, because they're magnet schools. You have to apply, and most of our children don't qualify for those schools. So what are you doing for the rest of most of the kids in this district that are failing? 13% of black kids are reading on grade level. Yet this school board does not present any comprehensive plan. You talk about a Saturday school that has 50 kids who attend. This district has thousands of children. What are you doing for the thousands of children instead of coming here and talking about the 50 kids you have in Saturday school and the improvements that they may be making, and trying to fool the public to make it seem as though you're doing something. You're doing something for 50 kids. I'm calling on the public to vote this board leadership out. The elections are this April. Coalition of STL Kids is putting forth candidates to replace this board. We'll have a press conference at the Board of Elections on Thursday at 11:20 a.m. Because we can't wait. We can no longer tolerate this level of failure. Our kids deserve better.
Wow. And that was Mr. Chester Asher. I stand in support of that brother. I'm right on board with what he's speaking on. And folks, let me tell you something. That school board needs to be totally held accountable. There needs to be an all-out effort to fire them. Fire them all. Because they sat idly by and allow this misappropriation of funds and what have you. But not only that, they're not doing anything tangible to bring about overdue and needed change for the masses of our children. The brother made a point so eloquently when he spoke about the 50 kids on Saturdays. But you got thousands that are still being left behind. And that's something we as a people, as a community, we have to stop ignoring. We have to find ways to make a better educational structure, a better educational system for our children. We got to make learning a fun thing for our young people. We have to have them totally engaged and give them something to cling to. And that's not being done as we speak. The school board needs to be totally replaced. If you sit there and allow any misappropriations of funds, you're not doing your job. And it's obvious, it's just as plain as day that there is some misappropriations of funds to go from a $17 million surplus to a $35 million deficit in 1 year. Somebody's not doing something right. I'm going to take a quick break here, and we're going to come right back and take your calls. 314-732-1212.
I think I'm hearing revolution in the air. I think I'm hearing revolution in the air. Tell me, brother, talk to me, sister. I think I'm hearing revolution in the air. Tell me, brother, talk to me, sister.
It is time for us to use our power. Please do not beg folks for power. Nobody is going to give it to you. You were born with power.
Some very sad news for all of you, and people who love peace all over the world. Martin Luther King was shot and was killed tonight in Memphis.
I will never say that progress is being made. If you stick a knife in my back 9 inches and pull it out 6 inches, there's no progress. You pull it all the way out, that's not progress. The progress is healing the wound that the below made.
I think I'm hearing revolution in the air. Tell me, brother. Talk to me, sister.
But the hard truth is that not everyone is sharing in this city's splendor and glory. There are more poor than ever, more families in trouble, more and more people who need help but can't find it.
A struggle against the common enemies of man, tyranny, poverty, disease, and war itself.
We believe that all men are created equal, yet many are denied equal treatment.
And so we say to all in this nation who would dare listen to us, black, white, Jew, Gentile, Asian, Latino, that we are brothers and sisters in a long and difficult struggle.
All right. Welcome back to the Prince Carter Show. I'm your host, Prince Carter, and we've been talking thus far as it relates to the school board and what's going on with the St. Louis public school system as a whole. Brother Chester Asher made a call to the community, a plea to get rid of and replace the entire board. I think it would be fair to say that this brother is more than likely right on point. I think that an entire replacement, and this is nothing personal. I don't have any personal gain one way or the other. My biggest concern is making sure that we do all that we can to provide the necessary tools and resources to aid and assist our young people in developing a proper education. I think that's it's lacking in so many areas. But again, I on the flip side want to say that too many parents are not doing enough. I think that we can't just hold the school board and the teachers accountable. There has to be some accountability on parenting. Our community, for whatever reason, and too many reasons, lack proper parenting for children and young people. We have young folks with no structure, no discipline being instilled in them. We have young people that are allowed to lay around and play the video games day in and day out. They don't have chores. They're not taking out the trash. They're not sweeping the floors and mopping and cleaning up the house as once young folks were required to do. It appears now that requirement has all been lifted in many households. And you got to ask yourself, how can a child be productive when they are, for lack of better words, unstable, and they're transit, and they're having to move from here, they're having to move. So we have a huge number of issues and problems that plague our people in our community, and we have to figure out a way and find a way to create some solutions to address these many ills that are plagued by our community and our people. And that's something a lot of people just don't want to talk about for whatever reason. We always want to try and find and make excuses for this, that, and the third. And it's getting worse. And I just don't see how we're going to improve the quality of education if we're not at the table with all the key stakeholders involved making conscious decisions on how to move forward and how to get out of the condition that we're in as a people and a community as a whole. I think that many of us, like myself, assumed that everybody was getting it and everybody was learning. It wasn't until recently that I've noticed that we still have a huge number of adults that can't read and write. And I look at some of the things that I encounter on a day-to-day basis that allows me to see the residual effects of slavery. I'm seeing to this day the residual effects of slavery. Many of people that have gone on and gotten their educations and gotten their degrees, and they feel like, oh, they're holding themselves back. It's their fault. And I don't feel that way. I don't think that you can constantly blame the victim for being victimized. I think that historically this country has worked against the interests of people of color for the longest. And I just think that we as a people are going to continue to do the way we're doing unless and until we find a way to unify and work together to pull ourselves out of this condition and to stop being plagued with all these ills that we're confronted with. They came up with this right to carry thing. Now we got 14, 15-year-old children walking around here with AR-15s and assault weapons in our community, and nothing's being said or done about it. And that's wrong. A lot of these children are not forced. I remember back in the day, up until you was 16, it was mandatory that you had to go to school. You got children now to go to school if and when they want to, if they choose to. And there's so many children that are dropping out that they're not even talking about it. They don't want to talk about that. Where did all these people go that, all these schools have closed down and shut down? Well, why is that? Where is the population going? Those are some of the things that we really need to look at and examine and figure out how can we do better than what we're doing. How can we help all of our children, not just 50, but all of the children. What happened to No Child Left Behind? Where is that at? Because from where I'm sitting and what I'm seeing, there are thousands and thousands that are being left behind. And I'm not sitting here just complaining. I'm trying to ask for tangible and concrete solutions to bring us to a better place. And that's not being done. I'm deeply concerned about that. And from the looks of it and the sounds of it, a lot of people just don't really care anymore. Too many people don't care. Yes, there are a few and there are a handful. Chester Asher was down at the school board meeting. How many people were down there with him? And why, for the love of God, were the school board was allowed to go into closed session because they didn't like what he said. They didn't like him raising the issues. They didn't like him pointing to the elephant in the room. So how is it that they were able to get away with that? There's a lady or a gentleman on the line. Go right ahead.
Hey, this is Asher. How you doing?
My brother. I'm so glad to hear you. I hope you didn't mind me playing the clipping from your speech last night at the.
No, that's fine. That's fine. I appreciate you. I appreciate it.
You attend these meetings on the regular, brother. I've seen you down there. How is it that after you spoke last night, they can just go into a closed session and shut the meeting down because they didn't like what you were saying?
I mean that's their normal operating procedure. They do not like scrutiny. They do not like accountability. They are experts in deception and marketing over complete and utter failure. Their failure is actually obscene. It's not like a little failure. It's so grotesque that it is surprising to me that they haven't been removed by law. They haven't been yet sued for gross misconduct and mismanagement. And so, this is just how they operate. They try to fool people.
Did I lose you? There's some.
I read all 50-something pages of it. And in it, they set the criteria. They set the conditions or the areas which the auditors would focus on. So, for instance, they said, did the superintendent increase salaries without authorization? That's an easy question to answer. You don't need an audit for that, right? Did the board approve it or not? The answer is no. right? But what they didn't ask was, did this board exercise its due diligence when they approved those positions and the initial salaries to begin with? Did this board exercise its due diligence when they approved millions and millions of dollars in no-bid contracts? They didn't put those questions in front of the auditors. And so this wasn't an independent audit at all. It was commissioned by people who wanted to cover their own tracks and put all the blame on the superintendent, which they supervised. And for most of her actions, I'm not saying all of her actions, but most of their actions, the actions that caused that $50 million hole in the budget, most of that was approved by those same people who are now poo-pooing their superintendent's performance in this audit.
Brother Asher, because you're more knowledgeable of this, I want you to help for the listening audience explain the responsibilities of the board members. What is their duties and responsibility?
The board is responsible ultimately for the success or failure of the school district. They create, approve, and monitor the $500 million budget. That's $500 million every year that they are responsible for. They are legally responsible for the proper oversight of that budget. They are responsible for the performance and the accountability of the superintendent in all matters that pertains to this district in terms of the safety of our students and their ultimate success academically and social emotionally. And so, and they're responsible for making the policies and creating the parameters within which the superintendent and the entire staff work. And like I said, they have just, at the end of the day, if you sit in some of those meetings and you observe the hodgepodge of topics they talk about, you realize that there just isn't a plan. These are just people that just don't know actually how to run a school district. And so they're just throwing whatever they can up on the wall and seeing what sticks. But there's no definitive plan. And probably the most emblematic of this is that they lack and they refuse to set a literacy goal. If a school does nothing else, if a school system does nothing else, it should teach our children to read.
Absolutely.
And right now, you have citywide only about 20% of kids citywide, but only 13% of black kids are reading on grade level.
13%.
They have. Say that again.
13%.
13% of black kids.
Wow.
13. So think about it. If you have a school of 100 kids, and you do have schools that small in SLPS, if you have a school of 200 kids, you only have 20-something odd kids who are reading on grade level.
Wow. And that's in 2024.
That's 2024.
Are you?
That's 2024.
So what is the residual effect of these children going to have and the impact on our community in the days to come?
When you talk about the school to prison pipeline, this is it live. This is the school to prison pipeline up close, personal, and live. And before kids get to prison, realize that they get to crime, right? And so all the victims of crime in St. Louis are also part of this and also affected by this. My neighbor was jacked for her car. And when if they ever caught those kids that did it, I'm sure these weren't the stellar students at our local schools. Mm-hmm. I'm sure these students struggled, and the data bears it out that most prisoners are functionally illiterate. That some prison systems actually determine the number of beds that they are going to construct based on the third grade literacy scores.
Wow. And they've been doing this for a number of years now.
They've been doing this for decades. And we are saying no more. No more. And that's why we put together a slate of candidates that we're going to
Chester, can you hold on for a hot second? I got a caller here. Let me see if I can merge her in. Is there a lady or a gentleman over there? Okay, I thought I was merging the caller in, and I'm trying to... caller, are you there? Okay, we go ahead, Chester. I'm sorry. I was able to miss that call for some reason or another. I'm working on a new system that I'm still learning. But I'm so glad that you actually called in, because I know, for one, that you are one of those advocates that have been down there for years fighting for the interests of our children. And I just don't understand why you aren't running for the school board.
You know, I realize that I think I can do more when I put together coalitions to because we don't need just one member of the school board. We need a whole school board replacement. And if I'm on that school board, that's what I'm doing, right? And that's the only thing I'm going to be doing. And one vote at the end of the day doesn't carry emotion. You need a majority. You need at least 4 votes. And so this time around, we're working on getting 3 candidates elected.
How many seats are up on this election?
There are 3 seats open that are up for re-election this time around.
Okay, and that election is in April.
Yep. April 8th. And then in the fall, there's going to be 2 more seats up. And so between those 2 elections, we can get a majority of that board and completely shift how business is done. And listen, this current board is horrible, just hands down horrible.
Oh, there's no doubt about it. There's no doubt about it.
Right, but it is not solely the fault of this board, right? It's been like this for decades. And really what it comes down to is the racist belief that black kids aren't capable, that our communities don't deserve a quality education. That's why for decades and decades you see the repetition and the lack of high expectations, and then the follow-up and accountability necessary to reach those expectations for our children and for our communities. And so this is going to be a change election, and a change not just for the educational system, and we've already talked about how it affects crime and violence, but a change in so many other ways for this city, because I think you were mentioning before that there are so many areas in which we need to have serious change.
That's
when
no
you talk
question.
About kids carrying guns.
Not just guns, assault weapons.
And the idea that we don't let children drive cars without licenses because we say it's dangerous, but we would give children machines, weapons of war, without any training, without any oversight, is completely, again, just obscene and grotesque, because it doesn't make any sense.
None at all.
So what we're really doing is building political power, because I always said the day that good people got together and black people in this city got together, that is the day things change in this city. That is the day, overnight. And we are building that political base, that political power that says our kids need to learn, need to be literate. They need to know how to do basic math, and they need to have career opportunities, and they need to have quality schools, each and every child. That violence has no place in our communities, and we need serious gun legislation and gun restrictions and gun reforms to make sure that that kids and people who shouldn't have guns aren't able to access these weapons of war. We need to create what am I trying to say? The in terms of the prison industrial complex, really making a justice system that is more about restoration than about punishment. And think about how many fathers have been taken away from our community. When a lot of people argue with me, they say, "Oh, it's the parents' fault." Some of our kids don't have parents.
Mm-hmm.
How many of our fathers have been taken away because of drug violations that the state is now profiting from?
Or just flat out killed or murdered. A lot of children lose their parents to violent death.
Yeah.
And back in the day when I was a kid, it wasn't as bad then, but when it happened, the village stepped up, the community stepped up, your uncles, your aunties. We don't have in many families today that option. And how do you educate a child that's not stable, that's being transit, that's being shipped from this school to that school to this school to that school because of their living conditions? I mean, how do we fix that?
And so, we have to get real as a community. And I think, like you said, that village, we have to stand up to village, right? We know that not of any fault of their own, there are kids who have no parents, who have one parent, but is in poverty and is juggling 2 or 3 jobs and actually isn't present. And where is the village, right? To step up and say, you know what, we are going to actually provide the supports and the systems necessary to sustain families so that when those kids go to school, they can perform. And so that's why we need really a political revolution where we're putting all these things together. Education is not an island unto itself. Social justice issues weren't created by themselves. They weren't created in vacuums, and they won't be solved in vacuums. But sometimes people try to use that to say, oh, well, the school board has no responsibility because it can't do anything because there's all this poverty and trauma. No, you have a responsibility, and you are part of the solution. That's why we need a better school board. But additionally, we need to move to make sure all the other elements of our community are in place, whether it's in terms of economics, in terms of housing, in terms of justice and criminal justice. All of those pieces need to be put together. And right now we're working on education, but best believe we have ideas and work ahead of us in all these other areas as well, because they're all connected, and they all, at the end of the day, result in a thriving community or a struggling community like we see today.
Chester, for those that are just joining us, share with them again the name of your organization.
It's the Coalition with STL Kids.
Mm-hmm.
You can find us on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter. Also, our website, cwstlk.org. And we're a social justice organization. We're fighting for ed equity in the city, but like I said, all these issues are related.
And you guys didn't just pop up overnight. You guys have been doing this for a number of years, to my understanding.
Yeah, we've been in existence about a year and a half now. We've been we were unorganized before that, but still doing the work.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll continue to do the work, and we're only growing and getting bigger and more importantly, more impactful.
You said something last night that I want to talk about right now, because you made mention of a press conference that you're going to be having on this coming Thursday at 11:20, I recall, at the St. Louis Public School Board. You made a cry and a plea to the community, I should say, to do what?
We want them to come and show their support, because this is a changed slate of candidates to really revolutionize this board, to say that, after decades and decades of failure, we are now going to be committed to the excellence of Black kids and to the excellence of all children in the city. And so we're having a press conference at 11:20 a.m. at the Board of Elections tomorrow, Thursday morning. And we want the public to come out and see the candidates, ask them questions, but also to really commit that we have political power, and we need to wield it in a way that makes tangible, long-lasting changes for our community.
Question: Will your organization be open to parents and people in the community that want to get behind you and push your movement to get a better school board and a better educational structure as a whole for our children? Can parents volunteer and come out and join hands with your organization?
Yes, definitely. So they can come tomorrow, but also on our website and our Facebook and Instagram, we have committees. And so we have committee work that they can join any and all committees. And those committees meet once every 2 weeks to give updates and to plan next steps. But then there's a lot of work going on in between the time that the committees are meeting. But yes, it's definitely open to the public. I mean, that's how we started. People just found us, heard us speaking, and are joining the movement and joining the work.
So, and correct me here if I'm wrong. Now, the more parents and community people that get involved and get behind your movement, you can spread the work out a little bit more for everybody. People won't have to do as much.
Yep, people won't have to do as much, and there'll be more hands, and more can get done. They say if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. Mm-hmm. And so this is a marathon. This is about going far and making the biggest impact possible. And so we need you parents. We need you teachers. We need you community members. We need you business leaders. All of you. We need you in this movement because this work will not get done by itself. But let us not be confused. It is work.
Absolutely.
Right? It is unpaid work, but it will pay off when we see our communities thriving, when we see our communities growing, when we're safer.
When you see more children able to read, it would be a better. Exactly. It'll be a big payoff for me. I look at some of the people that I interact with on a day-to-day basis who struggle to read, and these are grown folks. I'm not talking about children, because if you're not, if we don't teach the children to read, they're going to become adults that can't read, and that's not going to be good for our community as a whole.
And how are you going to apply for jobs? Mm-hmm. How are you going to apply for grants? How are you going to create a business plan to start your own business when you can't read? I mean, it's going to be much more difficult. It is a huge handicap if you are trying to economically elevate yourself and you cannot access the written word.
Exactly. And the whole myth about them taking cursive writing out of schools, how can a child, when they become an adult, how can they sign for a mortgage or a loan if they don't know how to cursive write?
Yeah, I mean, it's been shown that cursive writing helps with literacy, and it helps with that sound letter connection. And so, it's definitely, I don't think it's it's not the cause of our literacy issues.
No, I'm just using it as an example of some of the things and the challenges we're plagued with. Brother Chester Asher, I'm so honored that you took the time to call in, and I really want the people in the community to remember your name, and I bear witness that you have been down there standing up for children. And not just black children, but children as a whole, all children, the educational structure as a whole. You and Bill Monroe are, and sometimes the only black men that I see down there. And we need to get more black men involved in the educational system and structure so that our young people can know that it's just that important that the men are standing up fighting for it now. And
one of the organizations in the coalition is called Black Men Read. And we are recruiting people to be tutors in the schools. Mm-hmm. So again, we're not just complaining about the problem. We're actually tutoring children and helping them to read. And so again, when you join a committee, you can join the tutoring committee to actually help to volunteer your time, an hour or 2 hours a week, to physically, to literally go into schools and help children read. Another initiative we had, I taught for 8 years in the South Bronx. Teaching was the hardest job I've ever had, and it was also the lowest paying job I've ever had. If we want teachers to be successful, if we want to recruit teachers, retain teachers, we have to pay them a lot more. And we can start with a starting 60, which means the minimum teacher salary should be $60,000 a year.
Well, I not to cut you off, brother, but I respectfully disagree with that, and I tell you why. Considering the economy and the way things are going, my humble opinion, I think on an elementary school level, starting from the kindergarten to the 8th grade, teachers should start off at $85,000 a year.
Okay. That is a disagreement. I will agree too.
Their job is just that important. They have the responsibility of creating doctors, lawyers, judges, factory workers. They have a huge responsibility, and I think, and this is just my humble opinion, that we need to do better with their salaries and compensating those teachers for putting up with the work that nobody else wants to do.
Yeah, 100% agree.
You know, a teacher has many hats that they have to wear. They have to be a teacher. They have to be a mama, a daddy, a social worker, a psychiatrist. They have to wear many hats.
And then they have to be an expert in their subject.
Absolutely.
And not only an expert in their subject, but then be able to communicate that clearly and have patience with all sorts of challenges in a very short amount of time, each and every day. It is exhausting work. Then they have to hear from parents. Then they have to hear from their administrators. Then they have to plan. Then they have to grade. It is exhausting, nonstop work. And ideally, teachers would be paid at least $100,000 a year, each and every one of them.
At least minimum.
I think But just for political practicality, we said, hey, at least we can do a starting 60. Come on, can't we do a starting 60?
I think it should be 80 or better. 80 or better. 80 or better.
Hey, that if you can find some aldermen who will agree to that, if you can find some state legislators who will agree to that, we will be 100% in support.
Yeah, I think if you take a lot of people and when you look at their salaries, if they got jobs paying $80,000, $100,000 a year, they're not going to let nothing or nobody come between their job. They're going to do the best they can to maintain their job, keep their job, and be the best at their job because they want to maintain that salary. $80,000 a year is not a lot of money, really, when you consider their tasks, their responsibility. They are creating doctors, lawyers, judges, astronauts. They have the responsibility to prepare these young people. I was blessed and was fortunate enough to go to what was known back then as the Jefferson Elementary School. Still stands and opens today at 1301 Hogan. How do I know it was at 1301 Hogan? Because every morning when we went to class, we had to write our name on our paper, the address of the school, our room number, and our teacher. We had to write that every day, so it's engraved in my head. I'm 61 years old, and I still remember the address of my elementary school because of the curriculum and the structure and the discipline that was instilled on an elementary school level. I still carry today what was taught to me from kindergarten through 8th grade. I carry it with me today, and I pride myself on being the best I can be because of the teachers that I had the pleasure of being loved by. I thought they didn't like me back then. I thought they were being hard on me. But as I grew older and I look back, I realized how much they loved me to want me to be my best. And those teachers back then were off the chain, man. They had a zero tolerance for nonsense. And if you didn't get your lessons right, you had to sacrifice your lunch or your recess, and they stayed there and had special one-on-ones with you during recess and lunch. If that's what it took, they were willing to do that. And I think we need to get some of that back today.
Yeah, and think about how many of our teachers currently have second and third jobs.
Just to make ends meet.
How can you focus and do what you're supposed to and what you need and go above and beyond when you gotta clock in somewhere else after
just to make ends meet. Just to make ends meet. Our teachers back then, I learned later on that many of them were married. Okay, so they had husbands that had jobs. So those teachers back then, they shouldn't have done it, shouldn't have had to do it. But many of our teachers back then would take money out of their own pockets to buy materials for classroom assignments. And if a child was struggling and couldn't provide whatever was needed, they would step up and provide it for them. And so I'm saying, I look at my 7th grade teacher, Miss Spencer. Miss Spencer had a pantry in her closet in her classroom. They had toothpaste, deodorant, soap, anything that a child may have run out of at home was lacking. They had it in the closet in her classroom. And I'm talking about this is back in the 70s. So imagine, I'm hearing now some of the schools had to put in washer and dryers and have ways for some of the children to wash their clothes because they wasn't coming to school because they didn't have clean clothes. So they addressed that with, opening a laundry room in the school for the kids. I think that was a great idea. I support that.
Definitely. And some of the teachers at Vashon, for example, are talking about the copy limits that they have, right? That they're not allowed to make a certain number of copies using paper for their kids. And when you think about that and you juxtapose teachers having a shortage of paper with this board approving millions of dollars for no bid contracts and then turning around and blaming their superintendent for it, it is so grotesque that we have to put an end to it. And that's why we say we can't wait. The time is now. I hope to see everybody tomorrow at 11:20 at the Board of Elections on Tucker Boulevard. It was really a pleasure talking to you, sir, and hopefully we'll continue.
All right, Chester, thank you so much. Continue to listen and continue to call. That's Chester Asher, an advocate for our children. They're having a press conference tomorrow, and I'm gonna do my best to get down there as well. This whole educational structure, man, it needs to be overhauled. We need to do better by these children, and if we want to reduce crime, if we want to do better in our communities, it's going to start with education. I'm going to be supporting Bill Monroe for the school board. If I had the time, I would run myself, but I don't have the time, nor I don't feel I have enough expertise to get involved with that school board. I think it would take up too much time, and I don't have it. But I encourage folk to come out tomorrow, and let's find out who's going to be some of these candidates. And we're going to have a grassroots movement to get better people on that board for the interests of our young people. The educational structure needs to be totally overhauled, and it can start with having the right people on that school board. That's my position on that. I stand behind it. And again, this has been a Prince Carter Show. I'm going to take a quick pause for the calls, and I'm going to come back and wrap it up right here on the Information Superhighway.
I think I'm hearing revolution in the air. I think I'm hearing revolution in the air. Tell me, brother, talk to me, sister. I think I'm hearing revolution in the air. Tell me, brother, talk to me, sister.
It is time for us to use our power. Please do not beg folks for power. Nobody is going to give it to you. You were born with power.
Some very sad news for all of you and people who love peace all over the world. Martin Luther King was shot and was killed tonight in Memphis.
I will never say that progress is being made. If you stick a knife in my back 9 inches and pull it out 6 inches, there's no progress. You pull it all the way out, that's not progress. The progress is healing the wound that the blow made.
I think I'm hearing revolution in the air. Tell me, brother, talk to me, sister.
But the hard truth is that not everyone is sharing in this city's splendor and glory. There are more poor than ever, more families in trouble, more and more people who need help but can't find it.
All right, we're back. We're back. Welcome back to the Prince Carter Show. I'm your host, Prince Carter. On the phone now is Mr. Bill Monroe. Good morning, Bill.
Good morning, brother Carter. How are you?
All right. I just had Chester Asher on, and
yes, sir.
I know that you watched it as well. The school board meeting from last night. This brother.
I went in right behind him. I took a picture of him as he went in, and they wouldn't allow me to come in. The security stopped me from coming in.
Right, you've been banned.
Yes.
Because unfortunately, they don't like some of the questions that you raise and some of the issues that you try to address, and they don't want to hear it. And I think that it's so wrong and on so many levels. They don't allow freedom of speech at the school board meetings. And they are against freedom of speech, the current school board, that is. I think that what the brother did last night raised even more eyes, because they were having this meeting and giving all these accolades and praises on things that were.
It was surreal. They were engaged in self-aggrandizement, patting each other on the shoulder for non-existent progress.
And that's almost criminal, Bill. When you have kids that are failing to the degree that they're failing, and now you're trying to create the illusion that things are getting better when they're actually getting worse. That's criminal.
Well, it's criminal, and it contributes to the chaos and the dangerous conditions that we see in our community as our children's needs aren't met properly. And there lies a solution with education, skills, and job training accessible by a public school entity that doesn't value black children.
Mm-hmm. Did you hear Brother Chester last night when he said, you're doing something for 50 children, what about the other thousands that are behind?
Well, what he was saying was a false illusion that they were patting each other on the shoulder for what a great job we're doing in the St. Louis area, and they're failing to realize they're not serving the community, neither do they respect this community.
I don't think that you can disagree with the fact that for far too long, this problem has been getting worse. And it's getting worse because of some of the stuff that happened last night. Folks attempting to create illusions that things are getting better when they're getting worse. That's not in the interest of the masses of the people to do that. You have to be honest with the people. Say, you know what? It's not getting any better, and we can't figure it out, and we need your help. I would have more respect if you did that.
Brother Carter, this audit that they're speaking to that's currently in the news, this audit speaks to that. And, and there are some issues here with this transportation where what other world exists, and I'm talking about the vice president of the board, Matt Davis, a white male attorney, utilizing a black female as his mouthpiece and his dance piece. So what other race of people allow their white oppressors to manage the education of their children except black folks? And I think it has a connection to slavery, and many of us still bear that training and that things that make us act like we act, as if the white man's water is greater and better and all of this crap. And we allow white people to come in and dog our children out. And if we don't get this together with some of these buildings, that we've got some buildings, and I don't want to talk about all the negative all the damn time. And sometimes I got to put in the fact that we're standing in front of them because they fail to address the needs of our community, such as these abandoned school buildings in our community that we can utilize and house and educate our children at a great savings. And the money exists right now if the Missouri School Board Association and other white races get their foot off black folks' neck. And I'm talking about Tony Cousins as the worst example that I can imagine.
You know, Bill, when you talk about folks not holding them accountable, we talk about folks like parents. Parents are not. Let me rephrase that. Too many parents are not engaged in the educational structure. That's the first problem right there.
Okay, can I hold you?
Yeah.
Can you stop for a moment?
Go
Stop
right
for a
ahead.
moment. No. Okay. And I'm not in opposition to what you just said, but there lies an opportunity for educational activists such as myself and Brother Chester Asher, in spite of what we say the masses of parents don't do, we have and design education priorities to educate and train our children in spite of that. And the parent is going to get involved because when he sees his child doing well and achieving and being served by an education structure, he's going to latch on and he wants to do that also. And we say that all the time to the St. Louis Public Schools. Invite the parents out by, let's put a taco truck. I know it might sound small, but let's put a taco truck or a ice cream truck or a coffee truck outside the Board of Education, St. Louis Public Schools, during the school board meeting, where we can feed and give our children that their parents come and attend these meetings, and we can feed them, and they don't have to run home to get a meal. They can get a semi-meal there, but something to bring them there. For instance, we make no efforts. And I heard one of the expenses that they're looking at these people for mismanaging money. I think some of these were getting massages and all kind of things with St. Louis Public Schools money and mismanaging this money when this money should
Wait a minute, hold on, stop. Whoa, hold on. Okay, now, wait a minute. I want to get this clear. It sounds to me like I think I'm hearing things now. It sounds to me like it almost sounds like you said that somebody used some of this school money to get massages.
Well, the audit said that somebody had a card that they were getting something from. What's a massage envy? Is that a massage parlor?
Yes, it is.
Envy?
Yes, it is.
Okay, and they were getting services there, so they were really. I'm being lighthearted. Okay.
So the board is not the board responsible for overseeing the management of these credit cards and what have you?
Yes.
So that's the reason.
They're lying on that incompetent superintendent Scarlett. She was incompetent. She was totally incompetent.
You believe that?
You
believe that?
Well, that's why she was selected, because if you
they needed a scapegoat.
Yes. And now let me say this, Prince. You called me yesterday about 5 o'clock in the morning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Where'd I say I was?
I forgot. Oh! You was in front of the school board, the board of election. The board of election.
At 5:01, I parked my van in front of the Board of Election, St. Louis Board of Election, City of St. Louis. They opened up at 8 o'clock. At 5:01, I parked that van there, and I sat there so I could be the first one to sign up to go on this campaign for a seat on the Board of Education, St. Louis Public Schools. At around 8:03, and I saw a lot of sights, but I'm going to send a picture to you, Prince, and it hurts my heart. As I was sitting in my van in the darkness, I looked about two buildings down from the Board of Election, and I saw a movement. And being suspicious, if I see a movement on the lateral side of my eye, I'm thinking danger or something at 5 o'clock in the morning. But what it was, Prince Carter, it was a brother in a wheelchair, Prince, and he was pushed up into the hallway of a little crevice of a building, trying to stay warm and out of the rain. He had a wheelchair, Prince, and he had 2 or 3 items of clothes on, and he had blankets and all kind of quilts. It was his home. We live in a community, Prince Carter, where we're not doing very well about our homeless and the people who are most vulnerable, and it made me real sad. But getting back to this, I sat out there at 8 o'clock that morning, 8:03. The Post Dispatch reporter walked into the lobby where I had positioned myself, and we spoke briefly. I know her from previous meetings, and we spoke briefly. As a matter of fact, she wrote an article that has appeared in the day's paper, and she said, Bill, be in for a surprise, Bill. There's going to be another candidate for that board. And I questioned her. She would not divulge that candidate. She said, just wait around. You'll see. Well, in walked later on was the wife of the former Superintendent Kevin Adams. His wife has filed for a seat on the Board of Education. Yes, there's going to be a whole lot of activity here, Prince, and I can't promise you what we're looking at. But I tell you what, I don't believe that the president of that board, Tony Cousins, or the vice president, Matt Davis, an attorney, or the non-participant, what's the lady that doesn't even vote? I don't think any of them stand a chance in any school election, nor do I think they got enough sense to know to even get in the race after they're going to abandon St. Louis Public Schools and the city of St. Louis. So it's going to be a wide open race, man. And I've been listening to your program off and on, and I appreciate this time on the air. And we must stay vigilant. And I put up a cash app. I'm probably the poorest candidate of them all.
But you know what, Bill? Let me interject right there. And this is something that I've noticed time and time again. Normally, the better candidates for these positions are the ones with the least amount of money. They're doing it from the heart more so than financial reasons. I think your first endorsement came this morning on the air from Mark Kaysen.
I heard that. I appreciate that.
And
I value that. He's an educator. He's an educator at the highest level.
Mm-hmm. And your second endorsement came from Prince Carter. I'm going to support Bill Monroe because I believe in what you've been doing, and I have watched you over years, day in and day out, focusing on trying to bring about change for our education structure. And you've been met on time and time again on deaf ears rather. Oftentimes the board will focus more so on the 3 minutes that they don't want you to go over, opposed to the things that you're saying. And I think it's time out for that. I think that those people that are sitting on the board need to man up and woman up and say, you know what? We take full responsibility for the mismanagement of this money. And unless they are willing to do that, I don't even want to talk to them because they bear responsibility. And some folks think that the money is not the problem. It's other issues. We have a multitude of issues that plague our educational structure. But we're going to have to get people engaged and involved to step forward to do something about bringing about overdue and needed change. And I think Bill Monroe could be a great start to that.
And I would be remiss if I didn't mention another one of my cohorts, Brother David Jackson. Brother David Jackson also showed up at that Board of Election Commission and signed up. So Brother David Jackson bears a real strong knowledge of how we got tricked into where we are,
Mm-hmm.
and he would make a very good candidate and for those 3 seats that's up on that board. And I feel sorry for what exists there. You got another person on that board, Donna Jones.
Mm-hmm.
Pitiful. Been on, and I make a habit of not talking as best I can, but when you see someone that's been on that board for 16 years and done nothing, got no track record of even putting anything out there but screaming and yelling and crying about nothing, there's 3 or 4 need to come off that board themselves. And the only person that I see that would continuously make a decent board member is Miss Emily Hubbard. She's a young lady who jumped down and spoke about how bad the board was, and she the one to shine the spotlight on the president and the vice president. So that's my.
But what was Miss Hubbard when the money was being mismanaged? Was she silent? Did she speak out on it?
Well, it's difficult to say brother, because they do so many things. This is the St. Louis public schools, okay? But nothing public about the business of this public school district. Everything is done in the dark, and when you get in their butts and they vote on things, you don't know what the hell is being voted on. Well, how about item number 52, 34, 22?
Well, what is that?
Okay,
what is
that? And then if you speak up about it, you don't give it a couple of minutes. If you go over that, here comes security coming down on you. My God, Prince Carter.
But one of the things, Bill, I want to reiterate that I saw last night, and it really turned my stomach, and that is after Chester Asher confronted them with facts and truth, their response was to shut down the meeting and go into a closed session.
Yeah.
That is appalling, man. I think that it should be unacceptable. You're gonna go from one person speaks up and speaks truth to power, and you don't like what this one person is saying, and your response is kick everybody out. We're going to closed session.
Well, this is what they're probably doing, and I'm just, and I don't know this.
Why should they even have a closed session?
Hold on. This what may be what they're plotting. They've managed to illegally keep me from coming into a meeting by force, and they've already censored and denied Brother Asher and punished him for 30, 60, or 90 days in the VAS. So I think they're gathering their forces again to try to do the same thing to him that they're doing to me. And if they silence the two most vocal black men in this community, and partially responsible for the auditors even being here. Can you imagine the city of St. Louis Board of Education if these auditors wasn't here taking note of what it is they see?
We got work to do, Bill. We got a lot of work to do. And I'm, for one, that have been strongly advocating and saying that we need to find ways to bring education back into our neighborhoods, accessible to our children.
Well, we do. We got vacant, deteriorating, dangerous, rat-infested, vermin, drug-infested culprits running in and out of dangerous buildings, doing things that we don't know, with a police department that's not responsible or responsive. Not at all.
Well,
I called the police. Chris Carter, I called the police last night when they denied me entry because this letter that's illegal had the police department number on it or something like that. And I said, well, I tell you what, buddy. I'm talking to the security. I said, I might be on tape doing it. I said, I'm going to call 911 about this. And you know what, man? They never came, Prince Carter. We don't get served in our community at all. I called the police 3 different times to come to that school last night, and they never came or showed up. So
that's sad.
We continue on.
That's sad. But you know what, brother? I'm gonna find a way. I don't know. I'm gonna try to figure out how I can put together, hopefully, some type of fundraiser to help you in your cause.
And you know what? I'm not looking for no personal money, Prince Carter. I need money to hire an attorney because what I'm confronting here, I have every access. I got some friends over at Midwest Bank, man. Everybody just waiting to see, and some say, well, and not the people at Midwest Bank, but I had another friend say, Bill, maybe if you tone it down a little bit. What does that mean, friend?
That means sugarcoat things. They want you to sugarcoat it. For whatever reason, we have been conditioned and programmed to believe that sugarcoating is the best way to go. And it's more acceptable to the masses when you sugarcoat. They use titles and logos like radical. He's too radical. What is too radical? What is too radical? What does that mean? That means that this person is telling too much truth in a hard way. And
Fred Hampton was too radical, wasn't he?
Absolutely. But they got some work done. We got to stop sugarcoating these things, and we have to have more accountability in our communities as it relates to the educational structure.
And I'm glad that Brother Asher reached out to you.
I am too.
I sent your link to him, so I don't know which one got to him, but I'm glad he reached out. I got to run, man.
Bill, don't run. Just go ahead and walk, my friend. Just go ahead and walk. That was Bill Monroe. Thank you so much for your call. Continue to listen and continue to call. I for one, would like to open up the phone lines now. 314-732-1212. You can call in and talk about whatever you like. I would like to hear from some folk that are not engaged or not involved and get their take on what do you think? What do you think about the current educational structure? Is it the best we can have? Can we do better? Should we continue to accept people creating illusions that our children are doing better when they're not? Who does that serve? How does that help? You have to identify a problem, create a solution, and execute it. And if you are in denial, you can't identify the problem because you're telling yourself there's nothing wrong, when in fact there is something wrong. It's a broken educational structure. It's not working in the masses of our children, and we need to find tangible ways and tangible solutions to address these ills that have plagued our educational structure for decades, and it's getting worse. It's getting worse. I'm still ticked off about the fact that just less than 20 years ago, they were able to build a brand new high school for our children. And nobody in the community thought that it was wrong that they didn't build a track field, a soccer field, a football field, and all these things associated with school spirit, school morale. Vashon didn't get any of that. They got what they call a practice field, which is unlevel. It's got lumps and bumps, and it's just horrible. And if you ride down to there's plenty of space. Had that been a school for white children, it would have had asphalt. It might have been a closed-in dome. You just don't understand the effects that these things have. Why don't they have a track field? When I was coming up, track was a big thing. Why don't they have a soccer field? They're playing soccer now. Why don't they have a football field? These things should have been included in the rebuild when they built that school. But they weren't. And it's because they built it for little black children who they felt didn't deserve it. And we as a people and as a community sat idly by, up one, and said nothing about it. That's wrong. Something as simple as building a new facility should include all the main ingredients that it takes to put a school together. You got a school and you can't even go to your own school for a track meet. You can't go to your own school for a football game. That was wrong. I see it being wrong on so many levels. And I'm just one person. That's just how I feel. But again, we have to stop accepting so little all the time. We as a people are going to have to find ways to say, you know what, this is unacceptable. We got to do better than this. We're not going for this. And then and only then can we expect to do better and have better. I don't like the fact that for time and time again, our children are being dealt the short end of the stick. They're getting less and less of the resources. One of the biggest things that they did, in my opinion, and when they tricked folks into thinking that you had to bus your children to a different neighborhood to get a better education. Nobody said, you know what, let's just strike that and let's bring the education to the children opposed to sending the children to areas where they weren't wanted. Oftentimes, many of them, they got the money, didn't educate the children, and shipped them back. Let them sit there as long as they could justify keeping all of the money. And once they got the money and that time period ran out. They then decided to ship the children back to their own neighborhoods. And now they're back here and the resources are somewhere else. I think that's wrong on so many levels, people. I really do. And I'm just, for one, to think that we need to find ways to rebuild education systems and structures in our own neighborhoods, and find ways to pay teachers so that they can perform in our neighborhoods and our communities. Give them incentives because their job is so, man, a teacher's job is one of the most important jobs in the universe. Teachers teach and educate and prepare doctors, lawyers, scientists, you name it, politicians. The teachers' jobs are very important, and people, we need to wake up and understand the importance of teachers and the job that they have, and we need to properly compensate them for the work that they do. And paying a teacher $30,000 or $40,000 is not the answer. I say it again, and I'll say it time and time again, that teachers need to start off at $80,000 a year on an elementary school level. High school teachers they need to get a little bit more. But you got to pay these people if we want to keep people in that profession and have people that are going to be responding to all that we're talking about. And I'm going to take this call right quick, and I'm going to come back and wrap it up. This is the Prince Carter Show on an information superhighway.
I think I'm hearing revolution in the air. I think I'm hearing revolution in the air. Tell me, brother, talk to me, sister. I think I'm hearing revolution in the air. Tell me, brother, talk to me, sister.
It is time for us to use our power. Please do not beg folks for power. Nobody is going to give it to you. You were born with power.
Some very sad news for all of you and people who love peace all over the world. Martin Luther King was shot and was killed tonight in Memphis.
I will never say that progress is being made. If you stick a knife in my back 9 inches and pull it out 6 inches, there's no progress. You pull it all the way out, that's not progress. The progress is healing the wound that the blow made.
I think I'm hearing revolution in the air. Tell me, brother, talk to me, sister.
But the hard truth is that not everyone is sharing in this city's splendor and glory. There are more poor than ever, more families in trouble, more and more people who need help but can't find it.
A struggle against the common enemies of man, tyranny, poverty, disease, and war itself.
We believe that all men are created equal, yet many are denied equal treatment.
And so we say to all in this nation who would dare listen to us, black, white, Jew, Gentile, Asian, Latino, that we are brothers and sisters in a long and difficult struggle.
All right, we're back. This is the Prince Carter Show. I'm your host, Prince Carter. Getting ready to wrap it up for you guys. Ladies and gentlemen, I trust and believe me when I tell you, Prince Carter is no expert on anything. But I'm passionate about my people in my community. And we talk about black folks this, but it's sad to say, realistically, for the most part, many of us don't even know who we are. Because there's no such thing as black folk. We use that terminology. Ain't no black folk. Where black folks, where did they originate from? Where did black folks originate from? I think that we need to do some serious soul searching and first and foremost, really discover and find out who we are as a people. And stop using colors out of the crayon box to define us, because we didn't originate from the Crayola box, people. There's no such thing as black people, but we use that because we've been conditioned and programmed to believe that's who we are. Many of us, I kind of get offended when I have to go to some of these applications and fill out these different applications and whatnot, and they ask you your identity, and I oftentimes just write human being, and I do that because I'm not black. If you look at me, there's nothing about me that says I'm black. I am an indigenous people, and an indigenous people is a people that have been stripped of their language, their land, and their culture, and many of us fall in that category, whether we know it or not. And that's the reason I say that we need to stop identifying and calling ourselves colors out of the Crayola box. But that's just my, take on it. You don't have to agree with it. I think that we need to learn how to agree to disagree and understand that nobody has all the answers. But I do know that education is very important. I do know the ability to read, write, count, add, multiply, subtract is a crucial element in life. And I think that a lot of things need to be taught on the elementary school level, because when you talk about the different trades and what have you, I think that we're going to have to get to a point to start introducing some of these skilled trades on an elementary school level. I attribute a lot of the things that I know and I have learned in life to things that I learned on an elementary level. And I think, that we have to really examine the fact that everybody's not going to go to college. Everybody's not college material. Just like everybody's not going to be a doctor. Everybody can't be a rapper. Everybody can't be an NFL star. So we have to find things that our young people can grasp to on an elementary school level so that they can prepare. I am one, who, by the grace of God, and I give God all the praise and all the glory, that I have been blessed with different skills and different talents. There are a number of things that I can do, and more things I used to could do before I got of age, and now I'm not able to do quite as much. But I can't get away from hearing my grandfather, when I was 4 or 5 years old, tell one of his friends, when a man can't find a job, he's supposed to create one for himself. And that's so true. I look back historically, there were men who had 10, 12, 15, 16 children. And some of them couldn't read nor write. But they got up every day and went to somebody's job to put food on the table for all 16 of those children. And when they didn't have jobs, they went out into the woods and hunted and got food, or went fishing and got food and brought back to feed their families. I've been told that a lot of the problems came when they started kicking the men out of the house back in the 50s and the 60s. Some folks say they didn't kick them out, they just left. I recall women men had to hide the men in their house if the social worker came. They couldn't be on welfare and have a man living in the house. Was that right or wrong? I think it was wrong. if a person needs help, they need help. And we have a number of people who have been conditioned and programmed to think that the things that we as a people have been forced to do is our fault. And that's not the case. There are different situations, different circumstances, and different criterias. And I think that instead of constantly complaining about this, that, or the third, we got to find ways to fix these problems that we have been plagued with, because truth be told, the oppressor, the enemy, don't want you out of that condition. There is a movement to run black folks out of North St. Louis. And a lot of people don't see it or don't believe it. But ask yourself why you keep getting these calls about people wanting to buy your property and your house. Why is that? Why are we allowed to sit back and say, you know what? It's okay to sit on $500 million that was earmarked for a disinvested community. Where is that money going? How has it been spent? That's the reason I was telling people earlier, you need to go look at that Board of Aldermen meeting from last Friday. You can pull it up on YouTube. You know, there was only one person, well, maybe two, that was asking questions that needed to be asked. And I think we're gonna have to stop allowing the wool to be pulled over our eyes and pay attention to what's really going on, people. We need to really examine how we got where we are and what it's going to take to get us out of this condition. How, as a people, did we get to where we are? And what is it going to take to get us out of here? And guess what? You can sit back all you want to and be as comfortable as you choose. But nobody's going to save us but us. And until we, as a people, find a way to create a unified front so that we can all come up out of this hole together, it's going to get worse. Now be mindful. There are people, their job is to make sure you don't get out of that hole. And they're going to do things and say things to discourage you from getting out of that hole. They're going to even try to convince you that you're not really in the hole. Ladies and gentlemen, please wake up. Please get involved. Please find a way to do something to bring about overdue and much needed change in our community.
I think I'm hearing revolution in the air. I think I'm hearing revolution in the air. Tell me, brother, talk to me, sister. I think I'm hearing revolution in the air. Tell me, brother, talk to me, sister.
It is time for us to use our power. Please do not beg folks for power. Nobody is going to give it to you. You were born with power.
Some very sad news for all of you and people who love peace all over the world. Martin Luther King was shot and was killed tonight in Memphis.